Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tonight Show podcast for today, the 17th of April, live on YouTube. Boy, do we have a busy one tonight. We've got some news from a huge amount of sport, politics, and some news that I'm very excited to announce regarding someone in the UK as well, music-wise. So I'm joined by late party supporter Zach James for all the latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hello, Charlie. Hello.
Right, now this week we're going to reverse things up. We're going to do all the sport stuff first because we got lots of sport to cover tonight. We have got Formula One, football, wrestling. There's more to that, really, We're going to start off. Do you know what? We're going to dive straight in and review the football, first of all. Unfortunately, my friend Zach has disappeared from the live. I do apologise. That was unexpected to happen. So anyway, while Zach is... Oh, here we go. Zach is back
Right,
now.
I left for whatever reason. I must have had my purse on the leave studio button. And silly me. I'm back. Don't
Anyway,
worry.
let's review, shall we, the football. I'm going to start. Obviously, we have currently at the moment European football on as well. I will dive into that as well. But we had some football on Premier League as well. And obviously, that's back again this weekend. Let's hope I review the right match day this week. Last week, I clicked on the wrong match day. So it was match day, I believe, 32 or 30. I think it was match day 32 last week. Let's have a look, shall we? There's match day 33 as well. Manchester City 5-2 winners against Crystal Palace. Villa stuffing Southampton 3-0. Everton beating Nottingham Forest in a surprise result there. Does David Moyes remain unbeaten as Everton manager? I believe he does. I'm not sure on that one. Leicester held Brighton to a 2-2 draw. Arsenal and Brentford was a 1-1 draw. But I should also add Arsenal are now through to the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League after beating Real Madrid the other night as well on aggregate. I think it was like 5-1 on aggregate or something. It was 2-1 in the fixture at the Bernabeu. So yeah, Arsenal were through in the Champions League there. And obviously Aston Villa unfortunately went out against PSG very sadly. I think it was 4-3 on aggregate overall, I think, even though they did win on the night. Sadly, it wasn't enough to go through as well. Chelsea and Ipswich was another draw. Another Desmond, should I say, at 2-2. So Wolves beating Tottenham 4-2. Now, I believe Tottenham are currently up at the moment in the Europa League match.
Yeah, they
However,
are.
though, 4-2 is an embarrassing result in the league. And Ange, in my opinion, Ange Postecoglou, if I pronounce his name correctly, he is under huge pressure and could be facing the sack very soon if the results do not go their way. Liverpool 2-1 winners against West Ham, who play Southampton on Saturday at 3 o'clock. Newcastle 4-1 winners against Manchester United, who are also winning their current Europa League title at the moment as well, against Lyon. And Bournemouth 1-0 winners against Fulham. Also, as well, in the midweek match, Newcastle thumping Crystal Palace 5-0. That was in a rearranged match, I think, due to the Carabao Cup final as well. But other matches following week, we've got Brentford, Brighton, West Ham, Southampton, as I mentioned, Everton, Man City, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Villa, Newcastle, Ipswich, Arsenal, Man United, Wolves, Fulham, Chelsea, Leicester, Liverpool, Tottenham, Nottingham Forest at Monday at Bank Holiday Monday, should I say, at 8. Obviously, this weekend, just to confirm, is a bank holiday weekend. It is the Easter weekend. So, if any of you got a long weekend off work, enjoy the football and motorsport this weekend. Lots of sport in the football. I've pretty much reviewed all of it. In fact, we're actually going to go now and do a quick update on the European football whilst I am here. So the UEFA Champions League, as I mentioned, Arsenal beating Madrid on aggregate. Inter and Bayern would draw, but Inter go through on aggregate. Dortmund and Barcelona was 3-1, but I believe Barcelona go through on aggregate. And Villa PSG, Villa went out on aggregate. And Europa League as well. Let me go over that. Still unchanged in the scores at the moment. Rangers 1-0 down So yes, that's me done there for the spot. Zach,
With
lots
two
of
hopes,
football.
Charlie.
That's all right. I just want to say on the football, I will start by obviously that was my football review in there. I just have to say, looking at the results, definitely encouraging news. Certainly, as I said, for Wolves, Tottenham in trouble. With their loss again against Wolves, obviously West Ham in trouble as well, losing against Liverpool. And obviously the fight for Europe is on. Newcastle joining up now, very close to the top 5, or in fact probably closing in on top 5 now. Should be very, very interesting going forward as well. But the current Europa League scores there: 1-0 Lazio, 2-0 Manchester United, Rangers down 1-0, Tottenham and Frankfurt still 1-0 half time in that one. So there's still plenty of matches to be won in that respect. I believe Zach is just coming back in a minute. So
Hello, sorry again.
right, Zach, what's your take on the football then?
Yeah, some interesting ties this weekend, and I'm actually, when I look at the fixtures, and actually a really important, the most important Sunday of the season, I think, when you think about it, and I'll tell you why. Liverpool could be crowned champions this weekend, and mathematically, for that to be possible, they need to, for Arsenal to lose against Ipswich, which they are away, Arsenal at 2:00. And they need to win against Leicester City for that to happen. Now, it could go to next weekend. I think that's more likely at this stage. But who knows? It's really it's possible. And it could happen this Sunday, potentially, depending on the results of the football this weekend as well. But there's some other crucial matches. I mean, you mentioned Brentford Brighton. I think that would be interesting to get to the top half of the league as well. Manchester City, Everton. That's, I think, the pick of the 3:00 for me as well on that one. Aston Villa Newcastle as well at 5:30. That'll be tasty tie for the top end of the table just to confirm European positions as well. And yeah, Fulham Chelsea will. Yeah, it's always tended to be an interesting one for Fulham Chelsea because it ends up Chelsea and always drawing Fulham for that one, so that'll be fun. And then you got Nottingham Forest and new top Spurs, who surely think Forest going there as favourites in that match, although they have a little bit of a bumpy experience recently in terms of results as well with them. So yeah, they'll be hoping to have a good little bit of fight back on the Monday Night Football as well. As you mentioned, Charlie, the European side of things as well, the latest results I've seen in terms of the Europa League tonight is that at the moment, Man United are 2-0 up against Lyon, which means they're going to go through to semi-finals as well. Spurs are 1-0 up against Frankfurt, so at this stage they're through. Rangers are down 1-0 against Athletic Club. That's significant because if Rangers lose, that means they're out of the Europa League. However, if Rangers win, by the way, they will face, I think, Manchester United in the second leg of the semi-final. I'm sorry, in the semi-finals of the Europa League. Now that's significant. That means we would be guaranteed a British club into the final of a European competition this season, which would be excellent. But who knows? We need to at least stage some sort of comeback at the moment. And I'm just going to check the results in Chelsea at the moment because Chelsea are normally currently, well, they were 3-1 up on aggregate. Currently it's 1-1 in the Europa Conference League tie against Liga Warsaw as well. So it's 1-1 at the moment, but 4-1 on aggregate as well. And just to mention the previous this week's Champions League results as well, some really significant ones. Aston Villa was very unlucky not to complete the total comeback against PSG. Although they did win on the night, they unfortunately were down on aggregate by 1 goal. So therefore they are out of competition. But it was an excellent night for Arsenal on the other hand. As well, 2-1 against Real Madrid away. It means that Arsenal face PSG in the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League, and it's Inter Milan against Barcelona in the other semi-final tie as well. So yeah, that will be a really fascinating set of matches coming up as well in the European football.
And that's all the football for this week. Also, moving on now to the Formula One. Let's do a Formula. That's my favourite bit of this show. Talk about motorsport. Right. This race was won yet again by a McLaren. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 wins this season. The first repeat winner is Oscar Piastri. Again, showing himself why he can throw himself in to World Championship contention in 2025 with a pretty much lights the flag victory in that race. Used the safety car very well, won by nearly 16 seconds in the end, and cruised to victory pretty much. I have to say, you know, a safety car when Andrea Kimi Antonelli and Carlos Sainz both technically had a bit of a debris falling off was a bit of an interesting call, but it did spice the pit stops up. We saw plenty of drivers, unfortunately, a few lost out, some gained from the safety car. But in the end, Andrea Kimi Antonelli didn't actually finish in the points. In terms of the race results, George Russell claimed second despite having lots of issues with his car, brake-by-wire issues. One of the issues reported on his Mercedes. But he still held off Lando Norris, who had a disappointing qualifying, only 6th on the grid, but recovered to 3rd. But he will be a little bit disappointed with his result because he feels that he could have been in a much faster car up there with his teammate, who won by nearly 16 seconds, as I mentioned. Ferrari had a better showing, despite at one point the hard tyres not really firing up particularly that well on the last stint, but they still managed to finish despite trying to go on the alternate strategy on the mediums. 4th and 5th for Hamilton and Leclerc. Definitely a respectable result for them. Hamilton, by the way, started 9th from the grid. Max Verstappen finished 6th. That was despite overtaking Pierre Gasly on the last lap. More on F1 on the TV in a minute because I thought the TV coverage was very bad, particularly not showing certain bits during the race. And that, for me, win my plank of the week this week as well, the F1 TV broadcasting as well. I think it was quite crazy that you only show Oscar Piastri in like a winning box or something. It was a bit crazy. Pierre Gasly with a career best, season best 7th for Alpine, and actually had a really impressive qualifying as well. I've got to give Gasly one of the drivers of the weekend as well. Ocon and Behrman getting more points for Haas in 8th and 10th. And Yuki Tsunoda finally getting the second Red Bull some points in 2025. But yeah, Red Bull having a very difficult race. At one point, Max was down towards the back of the field in a car that was pretty difficult to drive all weekend. And behind the scenes, some meetings have been happening about his future at the team. Completing the results, you had Antonelli who got screwed up by the safety car, as did Albon. Hadjar was 13th, Doohan 14th, Alonso 15th. So Alonso again pointless, again for 4 races. Lawson having another disappointing showing in 16th. Stroll, Bortoletto. Sainz did not finish. Nico Hulkenberg got disqualified because his rear skid plate had worn over the maximum or the minimum or maximum level, similar to what Lewis Hamilton got disqualified in China for, and Nico Hulkenberg got disqualified again for another technical infringement. And they're the 20 drivers. Zach, what did you make to the Bahrain Grand Prix? Strategy, playing out everything, and actually some plenty of action on track this time, rather than the snooze fest in Japan.
Yeah. I actually thought, to be fair, Charlie, as well, that looking at the race, I actually thought that was more eventful than what it sometimes it appeared to look at, because the strategies were excellent. They were really varied. No one seemed to know what was the right time. Some of the teams, strategy works better than others. So soft tires work better than for some teams than others. The mediums work better for some teams than others, especially Ferrari. I mean, they were good on the mediums. They were very good. It was just a case of whether they should have gone on that towards the end rather than the hards. But yeah, I thought for strategy wise, I thought it was an excellent race in terms of different tire strategies. Because no team seemed to have a clue what tire to be on at the right time. And yeah, there was actually some decent midfield overtaking as well, and there was a lot more overtaking than we got, especially in Japan, because that wasn't brilliant. But yeah, I actually thought it was a really good race, even if the order was mostly the same when you eventually get to it. I actually was thoroughly enjoyed the race overall on that one, and hopefully it'll be the same this time in Saudi Arabia. I think they've gone a step softer this year in Saudi Arabia in terms of the tyres, which actually is going to promote a lot more tyre wear, managing the tyres. The people are going to be struggling, and therefore we may end up with likely with a two-stop race as well there as well. So that the fact they're going to go softer is interesting, and I think that will certainly put a cap on the pigeon in terms of the strategists as well. But yeah, Oscar Piastri winning that one. It's pretty much the qualifying, the top two is the qualifying order of Piastri, Russell. Well, Russell not in this instance because Russell got, if I remember, Russell got a penalty. So did Antonelli at the time because they got released too soon. In terms of get releasing too soon before before start time was officially confirmed. There was a big difference between a provisional start time and a official start time. Lando Norris started 6th, managed to wake up to 3rd. Again, qualifying needs to be better for him, especially on the Saturday at the moment. Charles Leclerc was 4th. Yeah, I think Ferrari can be satisfied. I think it's the most satisfactory weekend of the season so far in terms of actual getting the points. If you exclude China and the abysmity of getting disqualified, on the other hand, pretty dismal race for Max Verstappen, 6th position. He's been struggling all weekend, a really poor lap on Saturday, really compounded to that. Alpine 7th for Pierre Gasly, with a decent result for him, and so did Esteban Ocon, and 8th for him, and Oli Behrman gets a points as well in 10th. Yuki Tsunoda in 9th, but means for the first time in a while, as the second driver in Red Bull has actually scored points. That's something, I suppose. Kimi Anthony, unlucky, made a few mistakes in 11th. Alex Albon, yeah, a bit of a struggle for him that one time. That race, 12th. RB for 13th for Hadjar, 14th for doing. Alonso points again, 15th. Lawson 16th. Stroll 17th. Bottas 18th. Carlos Sainz DNF'd. There was a collision. He had a big crack in his side of the car to be retired. And Nico Hulkenberg really skid plank again below the minimum fitness requirements, so disqualified as well. It was 9 millimeters. Is 8.3, 8.4, 8.3 if I remember rightly as well. As you mentioned, we move on to the final of the triple header and the second of the desert races. It's Saudi Arabia at the Jeddah Corniche circuit as well. A bit more of a friendly time as well, 6 p.m. UK time as well. Again, as I mentioned, strategy will be interesting in that one because the Ferrari gone one set soft on the tyres this year. So that will promote a lot of tyre wear as well. And it will be overtaking is generally difficult as well. This circuit is very fast, and it's going to be very wary on the tyres. So yeah, really looking forward to this race.
Yeah, and also as well, I forgot to mention, I was watching the inside line the other day as well for Imola. The C6 will be introduced. The softest compounds for all of the tyres will be used at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, which is, I believe, round 6 of the championship. So round 7, sorry, I think. That's after the Miami Grand Prix. That will be a softest compounds will be used for that race. I expect Monaco will probably use similar compounds. I also want to talk about the Formula 2 as well. I don't usually review Formula 2, but I will this time because I actually watched the Formula 2 highlights. Oh, wow. It was fun watching the F2 guys out on track in Bahrain. Lots of action. At one time, they were going 4 wide in both of the races. It was so fun. I actually really enjoyed the Formula 2. Plenty of drivers, and we had one of the drivers, Jose Maria Marti, winning from 11th on the grid in the F2. Zach, what did you make to the F2 races? They were fun, I thought.
Yeah, and one I mentioned, I have to mention in this as well, is that for the first time ever in Formula 2, we had an Irish winner as well. I should mention a big congratulations to Alex Dunn. He became the first Irish driver to win a race in Formula 2 at the age of 19 years old. It was Formula 2's 200th overall race in its history as well. He started fourth in the grid as well and won by 8.2 seconds ahead of Luke Browning as well. Yeah, so brilliant stuff from Alex Dunn overall, and even got congratulation, I think, from the Taoiseach as well of Ireland, Michael Martin. So that tells you something, the attention he got there as well. Yeah, so and overall, from the little bits I saw, it was mighty close, mighty close in terms of the action as well. We had cars within, at some point 3 wide as well. As mentioned, we had very close sprint race as well. Yeah, it was a really good overall weekend for the Formula 2s as well. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
The feeder series, I have to say, the feeder series sometimes better than F1 to watch. There's so many the drivers in equal machinery, that cars are semi-spec. They all go side by side. It's so fun. Wow. Honestly, I really enjoyed that. Very impressive. That obviously will be back very soon as well. Keep up to date on the calendar for that. Moving on now to the next bit of news. I'm going to do IndyCar this week. We had a race at Long Beach. And Zach, this time round, Alex Palou didn't actually win. A different winner took the top step on the podium.
Yes, indeed, as well. Alex Palou didn't actually win that one. Some would say, thank goodness. Some would say, nah. I mean, would have been. Some would say it would be nice, but obviously, as well, it's nice to see shake up in the results as well. But it was winner this time round. Was Kyle Kirkwood. In as well. Congratulations to him, finishing just ahead of Alex Palou in second position, ahead of Christian Lundgaard in third. Felix Roderquist was fourth. Then you had Will Power in fifth. You had Scott McLaughlin in sixth position. Coulter Herter seventh. Scott Dixon eighth. And I mentioned Stingray Royal, 19th to 9th position and finished in the top 10. I have to say, and led 12 laps of the race as well. Decent race for him, I have to say, as well. And it's obviously a shame that he finished down in 9th after leading 12 laps of it. But I think you can take the performance out of that, because I think that would be really decent as well. Griffin Simpson in 10th. Santino Ferrucci was 11th. Then you're going down, you've got Ericsson, Award, Armstrong, Rossi, Louis Foster, Damon Lucas, Robert Schwartzman, Renus VK, Nolan Siegel, and then you've got Cameron Ilott, Graham Rahal, Christian Ramison, Devin DeFrancesco, Connor Daly, Jacob Abel, and Joseph Newgarden. Well, that's a disappointing result for him, finishing all the way down in last position as well. So, yeah, that's the IndyCar there for you. And I think, if I'm right to say, the next race is the Children of Alabama's Indy Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time, actually. It's May the 4th, actually. So it's sort of the bank holiday weekend as well, if you want to think about it as well. The Indy Grand Prix, that's at 6:30 UK time on that Sunday as well.
So at Barber Motorsports Park, which is usually sometimes the season opener in an IndyCar season, but is moving to a May slot. Be very interesting to see how they get on there, because, it's a track that's last year was won by Scott McLaughlin. It's an interesting track. And after that, May the 10th, we go to Indy Annapolis on the road course for the Sonso Grand Prix. So I'm very interested to see how that gets on as well. Moving on now to the next bit of sports news, Zach. This weekend is a huge blockbuster event in the world of WWE wrestling. It is WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas, where we're going to have the championship, probably the world title showdown between Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, and John Cena, who is gunning for his record-breaking 17th title to be the most successful wrestler of all time in WWE. Well, we have loads of match cards for you guys over the weekend for WrestleMania 41 as well. We have the triple threat match between CM Punk, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins as well. And in fact, we actually have loads of events. I've got the match card for night one here, which is on here now. This is sent to us on a source online. I'm just going to get the source up for you now. The main event we'll see on day one. We'll see the main event: Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins triple threat match. The ladies WWE Women's Championship will see Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair. She's the current champion, by the way. Then we've got the World Heavyweight one, Gunther, who in the O2 Arena at, I think it was SmackDown, tied Jimmy Uso to the side of a ring. He tied one of the Usos up to the ring last time. He is facing off against his brother Jay in that one. Jay Uso really wanting to overthrow Gunther, who is a very, very inferior wrestler. Very, very powerful. You know, if he gets his big arms out, he's a very powerful wrestler when he attacks. As you saw at the O2, one of the, I think it was one of the SmackDown or Raw events, he come out and done that as well. You then have LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. Obviously, Jacob Fatu came and destroyed a match between him and Braun Strowman. That's for the United States Championship. Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano as well. The Raw Raiders are the current world team. And also the New Day and Raw Raiders will be for the WWE Tag Team, World Tag Team Championship. So that's a team event. That's on Sunday. That's on Saturday, by the way, just to confirm. Then we now have Sunday. I'm not sure if Sunday has been confirmed yet for WrestleMania 41. I believe Stone Cold Steve Austin's also going to be there as well. I mean, Zach, what's your assessment on the first WrestleMania Day 1 match card?
Yeah, interesting. And a huge stat weekend of matches as well. And just going through some of the situations. Let me go through night one. So you got Gunther v. Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship match, the singles match. Then you got the War Raiders against New Day, so that's a tag team as well. And then you got Rey Mysterio. It was a decent card actually. Rey Mysterio with El Gargano, Americano, Jade Cargill versus Naomi, LA Knight, decent. Tiffany Charlotte versus Charlotte Flair is a huge match as well. And then you get to the main one, Roman Reigns v CBA Punk versus Seth Rollins for the triple threat match as well. Then you get to the main matches this weekend as well. If you go to night 2, and you really do get the good ones. Damon Priest, Drew Thierry, I can't pronounce his name. AJ Styles, Logan Paul, McIntyre. Yeah, sorry about that. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez did some more tag teams as well. And then you got Cody Rhodes, who's the reigning champion, against John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship. That's going to be a big, big matchup as well. So yeah, 2 matches of huge, just huge matches in the Cena City itself. That is Las Vegas. I think it's going to be an absolute huge night of wrestling, and rivalries will be exposed and explored on the night as well. It really is going to be a big weekend for WrestleMania as well. The first one that's shown worldwide on Netflix as well. Yeah, that's going to be a good one, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be. It sounds like Randy Orton's match looks to be off. I think because obviously his opponent pulled out. He was meant to be facing Solo Sikoa unless that match has been changed. I don't know. I'm just double checking now. Oh no. Yeah, no. It looks like the match. I haven't seen the match on there, obviously because his opponent Kevin Owens pulled out with an injury. So yeah, very interesting to say that wasn't actually mentioned on the press release, according to what I've read up. So maybe Orton's out. I don't know. If my Uncle Chris is watching, I know my Uncle Chris obviously watches the show quite a lot. Shout out to Chris if he's watching. I'm sure that I know he's a big wrestling fan and football fan. So I don't know. I didn't see Randy Orton's match on there, on the card. I think I definitely thought he was playing. I thought he was fighting, because he was with Nick Aldis the other week and RKO'd him and got fined. So yeah, certainly interesting on that one. But like I said, WrestleMania 41 is live. Obviously, the big match on the Sunday. Could it be? I mean, will Travis Scott and The Rock in John Cena's corner? Will Steve Austin and Stone Cold be in Cody Rhodes' corner? We don't know. But that's all I'm going to say in that one this weekend, WrestleMania 41. We'll be live on Netflix. You can watch it on Netflix here in the UK or very early start time, I'm sure, like the F1 was last year. So certainly interesting. That's all the sports news done. Now, Zach, I've kind of done my plank of the week this week already with the F1 broadcasting, with being having terrible. What's your plank of the week this week?
My plank of the week this week, difficult one to say. Actually, I'm going to mention this because it's worth mentioning as well. I'm going to mention just generally, and I'm not going to have to mention a specific person, but a group of people here. I'm going to mention extremist groups who are non-compromising on the transgender rights situation. Now, I mentioned this, so I'm not saying that we should disrespect trans people at all, because actually I think trans people are beautiful people by heart, by nature. But we have to also recognise the rights of women as well in this situation as well. And I'm mentioning this because there was a very significant ruling this week in the Supreme Court. Now you may have seen on the ruling on the ruling on I think this was brought forward, if I could get this right, get working and put up here. I'm going to read this on my phone.
Was it to do with a
Yes,
biological woman or something? This gender
yeah,
ideology.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about as this week. So let me just go through what actually happened. So the Supreme Court has basically, there's been an element of uncertainty around the Equality Act, and we have a situation these days where there's a lot more trans people and a lot of debate around the things of trans rights as well. So let me just tell you what actually happened here with the ruling. So what the ruling was that the Supreme Court said that the legal definition of woman includes woman includes sex inequality acts. It refers to biological woman and to biological sex. So that's the ruling that they came out with this week in terms of Supreme Court, and that's significant because that's seen as, although they did say in the court that they said that although the Supreme Court basically said this shouldn't be seen as a win for one side or the other, what it does mean now is that if you say you're a transgender woman, the legal definition basically is say if you're a woman that holds a gender recognition certificate, so say if you were a man, you then transition to a woman as well, you don't now no longer reach the definition of a woman under the Equality Act 2010 as well. So that's a significant one because that seemed as a victory for basically gender critical activists, aka those that support of single sex spaces, women's rights, so and so as well. The problem I see, and all groups do this, but I think there is an extreme. The reason why I even plank of the week to some groups is that their positions are uncompromising. Some of the trans groups out there seem to think that you have the simple right to go around walking into a woman's toilets after changing from a man, claiming to be a man. Well, you're saying that you were a man, then claiming to next day to be a woman and turn up into a woman's toilets. This is the trouble with these uncompromised people that don't compromise on the right for women's rights and everything like that as well. I think, my view on this is that I think trans people deserve their own space. I think the solution is to give them their own space. If you want, especially in sports, is to give them their own category in sports. I think that's one area where I think they should be given their own category. In sports, they should give them their own toilet space as well. So that they feel respected and they can go in safely as well. I mean, we do have like disabled toilets, for example, for disabled people. I'm not comparing trans people to disabled people because that's absolutely the wrong impression that I don't want to get people to be perceived on. But I also think that trans people should get their own space, their own wards in hospitals, their own spaces in prison if they commit any crimes, which I hope they don't. It's a very minority, but they should get their own spaces. The solution to everything is give trans people their own space, not erase them totally from, going into the wrong toilets. We cannot allow them to go into the wrong toilets. Absolutely, no way. They need to be they cannot be in the incorrect toilets. But so they need their own spaces, I feel, in instances of this as well. So yeah, significant rulings. It may mean that the Equality Act needs to be updated to reflect the views of the opinion of the Supreme Court. But yeah, I think the plank of the week is some very pro transgender right groups that don't seem to compromise or gave the attitude that anyone putting on a dress and claiming to be a woman should be allowed in a women's toilet, because they don't think they should. So yeah, that's plank of the week for me.
Yeah, so that's plank of the week. Now we're moving on, Zach, now to this two-tier policing, as Sir Keir Starmer continues to jail people over a comment made on Facebook and stuff. Now I want to mention this week. Lucy Connolly apparently was jailed last year for about 30 months. For a mother jailed over a tweet about Southport killings has been unjustly denied temporary leave to spend time with her daughter and sick husband, Cammy Badenoch said on Friday night. According to what Cammy Badenoch said, having reviewed the background of Lucy Connolly's case, her denial release on temporary licence RTOL appears that it's not grand privilege, it's a modest amount for 2 to 9 weeks home. Lucy has been unfairly treated, and it's time to acknowledge this. She can appeal the governor and, if necessary, to prisons of probation. Ombudsman justice must prevail. Transparency into clarify into obviously details surrounding her case. That's what has been discussed. There's also been some news about Lucy Letby as well on another thing. Obviously, that's to do with something completely different. That's not to do with a Facebook comment. That's to do with a trial that I think happened months ago. Zach, what do you make to this? Because I think a few journalists have been floating, I think particularly on right-wing channels, have been talking about this story about this two-tier policing row again.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I personally, for me, I think this is ridiculous, right? Okay. Nobody seems to have the idea, has the scoobiest idea. So this Lucy person, let me just explain what she said. She basically threatened that I can't remember if it was she that she threatened to burn down a migrant hotel and didn't care if the people in it died or something like that as well. And she posted that directly, obviously deliberately, to social media as well. And yeah, so it was a pathetic post, and it got to the attention of the police as well. So yeah, it was really ridiculous. Give me 2 seconds, Charlie. I've been called a little bit.
That's all right. I think as well, like, you have to go over the review of the justice system being
Charlie.
It's certainly the justice system for me, and it's the same as other countries where. Go on, Zach. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm just going to join my phone a minute because I'm.
That's all right. Yeah, I have to say, like, when Starmer releases prisoners and they get overcrowded prisons, that can present a danger to our streets. And it's the one thing that constantly gets berated about on social media, and I just, it's one of them things. Look, I don't want to say anything on social media that's gonna get the police round or what, because I don't hardly post very much on social media now, and I think that it's such a divisive issue to talk about, and I've got more on this in a minute. I'm just going to get Zach on here now.
Hello.
I'm sorry, Zach.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say, I don't know why my thing hasn't gone, by the way. I should have my. There we go. I'm sorry, my internet just restarted. We've got a little bit of issues.
What's your assessment on this case?
Yeah, but the thing is about it, Charlie, is it's ridiculous because she clearly threatened to blow up or at least do bad things to migrants or migrant hotels during the peak of the summer riots. And she said some really horrible things. And quite frankly, I have no sympathy for her. It's incitement of violence, and it's the sort of thing you exactly go to prison for, and you rightly deserve to go to prison for. I have no sympathy. I have zero sympathy whatsoever with her and her causes. And I cannot believe the likes of Kemi Badenoch have started to be going by her side saying that she's been treated unfairly, That is an extreme right-wing position. It's not two-tier justice. It's sense. If you threaten somebody or threaten something, or you threaten to kill, or threaten to damage, or threaten to arson, you rightly go to jail for that sort of thing.
Oh, we've lost Zach again. I do apologise. Technical issues tonight on our end. It's certainly like GB News' opening night. Does anyone remember when GB News had the technical issues and mics were being muted?
That she's even like, oh, hello, I'm back. Did you lose my thought then?
Don't know.
My
It's not
internet
quite like
resetting as well.
GB News. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, okay.
I think I don't know. GB News alarms are going off now with the mic, with the cameras and the mic.
Yeah. So this is Charlie. This is what happens when you're on mobile data and Wi-Fi at the same time. I blame. To be fair, I'm probably the one to blame on that. But yeah, I think really and truly she's only got herself to blame. I have no sympathy with her whatsoever, and quite frankly, the prison sentence that she got is exactly the correct one, and the treatment she's getting is correct, because quite frankly, you should not be, if you're threatening to kill, blood things, or commit arson, or even make threats on people, then I have no sympathy for her whatsoever. I'm sorry, it really is, and I'm frankly, the treatment she's getting, she absolutely deserves. I have no sympathy for as well, and frankly, for Kevin Bade not to be signing with her is completely shameful, and a right-wing fanatic too obsessed with social online media things as well. It really is pathetic as well. So yeah, on that front, really and truly, I have no sympathy with her whatsoever as well. So yeah, that's my opinion. I think my internet's working now. I think everything's going back to how it was. So I'm going to go back on my computer, Charlie. I'm going to come off my mobile, and I'll
all right. And we're going to quickly move on to the next news story, because I am now going to bring you some news in America, where we've had obviously an unfortunate fire that's taken place the other day, according to what I'm read. It's in a university where a fire has taken place. I just want to say, and also Donald Trump has been over with meeting with Giorgia Meloni, the Italian leader, over some trade deal talks as well. I mean, Zach, obviously there's been a university fire. Obviously, my thoughts with all those people that have been affected by this. I think it's in California or some other US state. I was reading about it before we went on air. Horrible news to hear. Obviously as well. On that one. Also as well, we've had.
Yeah, I think it actually. Yeah, go on, Charlie.
I was going to say, then we've had that. We've had Trump talks, and we've had Israel. There's been a lot of stuff in the news this week, really geopolitically as well.
Yeah, I think what this is. So I think what you're referring to is actually is a shooter that actually is open fire at a Florida campus. Actually, I think what you're referring to, the story there. So we know that at least 6 people has been rushed to hospital. We have a suspect in custody because there's been a mass shooting as well. It's open fire from an orange hammer. They pulled up in a Hummer, sorry. Then opened fire at the Florida State Tallahassee campus as well. It's left 6 people that injured. I don't know any more than that at the moment. But yeah, it's a big incident as well. So we know that 6 are hospitalized. There is a suspect in custody. But I actually understand there's now 2 dead, which is really disappointing and really sad to read as well. But yeah, just on that, Trump has also been at we got Giorgia Meloni at the White House today, talking about the trade deal between US and Washington as well. And mainly, I say it's probably between Italy and Europe and USA at least. She's the first European to visit Washington since Trump imposed the tariffs, then paused them as well. And Giorgia Meloni is trying to use her visit as sort of a baseline to help European relations with the USA. They've gone a bit off the stir crazy after all the tariffs and everything as well. But yeah, it's not, again, been a bit of a hectic week if you're sort of a Trump fan as well. Trump is now sort of threatening Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve. Jerome Powell said some things on the economy yesterday, thinking that the tariffs that was implemented by Trump are more worse than previous tariffs implemented and actually going to have a more inflationary impact on the United States. Obviously, Trump's not reacted well to that. He's called for Jerome Powell's firing as well. Now, I should mention that Jerome Powell can technically stay in his role because he cannot be forced out by the president, even if the president wants him to be forced out as well. Jerome Powell's got a couple of terms with him as well. So yeah, I have to say again, Trump's going off for one because not everyone's not saying nice things about him as well. So, and he's obviously gone off on one on Ukraine again, which is again disappointing. A girl and a bit of silly comments as well. So yeah, eventful week for the Trump administration again.
I heard there was a meeting happening the other day between, was it France and America over the conflict?
I think so. So I think it was in Paris, and I think it included Marco Rubio and the envoy to I think it was or was it Steve Wilkoff?
It was
one
of
him.
Emmanuel Macron's advisors, I think.
Yeah, well, I think one of US's special advisors, envoys, involved in this as well. Meeting yesterday, that was talked up, and yeah, they were all meeting there as well. I don't know what the outcome was, as well. But hopefully there will be some progress on this as well, because I think. But then Trump has been sprouting things out about Zelensky, about Ukraine again. He's just going, that makes him sound like he's on the Russian side again, which is again really disappointing. So yeah, I mean the thing is about it is that you don't know what you're going to expect from him as well, which is a shame. Just want to update you, Charlie, as you may have mentioned in the right hand corner there. I want to update in the football because Manchester United's 2-0 lead's now gone, and it's now 2-2 in the space of a couple of minutes between them and Lyon. It's now 4-4 in aggregate. I think this is going to extra time. It's a really shocking giveaway for Manchester United after been doing so well in the first half. That it's a really shocking giveaway.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated with that as well as we get in the news on the football. But that's pretty much the end of the main general news now of the show. And I thought tonight we're going to talk about a couple of things. The first thing we're going to be talking about tonight is actually a brand new song that I'm playing for you tonight. But first, I want to talk to you about what has been announced the other day, music-wise. British R&B and garage icon Craig David announced his 9th studio album, which is titled Commitment, dropping Friday, August 8th. I've also got something of a special feature to talk about Craig David as well, because he's also spoken about social housing, which I also want to come on to in a minute as well. And I'm sure Zach will be able to elaborate on, more what we're trying to say, what he was saying about that. Craig David announced his new album called Commitment the other day. It is going to be a 13-track album from what we've read up. I have actually got a list of songs on the album cover that I can find whilst I'm here. So the new album Commitment drops August 8th and is going to feature some new songs, 13 songs in total. Obviously, Wake Up came out on the 16th of obviously 16th of April. Here are the songs here. I have the songs for the new album. Obviously, Wake Up, the lead single. SOS got released back in January. In Your Hands was released in September last year. That's also number 9 on the track list. SOS is number 6. Wake Up is the lead single, number 1. The new tracks include In With You featuring JoJo. That'll be an interesting one. Commitment, obviously, with T with Savage that came out back in February. That's number 3. Number 4 is the surprise one for me. Leave the Light featuring Louisa Johnson. If you don't know who Louisa Johnson is, I will say to you now, she won the X Factor back in 2015. She was the youngest ever winner of that show at just 17 years old. I must admit, Louisa Johnson, it's going to be interesting to see how she gets on. I mean, I could be referring to someone completely different when I'm saying Louisa Johnson, but it is Louisa Johnson. Just to confirm that who Craig David is actually going to be collaborating with. So that is a song called "Leave the Light On." Mr. Right as well at number 5. 7 is Dominoes Your Way. 8 Last Chance with You. Number 10 Rain. Number 11 reminds me. I've heard that a little promo of that song reminds me a little bit of Walking Away and maybe a little bit from 22. So it'll be interesting to see how that one gets on. Perfect Love 12. So Special 13. Zach, what do you make to obviously Craig David's new album release? His 9th album now, obviously 25 years since Born to Do It got released. And also, he was on This Morning the other day talking about his original council flat that he went and back to visit with his mum in Southampton and called on the government to invest in more social housing. What do you make to his new album and his comments about social housing the other day?
I agree with the social housing part of things. Definitely. One thing about it, track list. Yeah, SOS is on there, Nuance on there, very brilliant ones, and the Tweer Savage one, the Commitment. I've not really listened to that one that much as well. Interesting. I think to get obviously going to a bit more sort of the old style music that he's going to as well, with new elements in there. So yeah, I think it's obviously for Craig David fans, it's a big album to look forward to.
Yeah, and Zach, I mean, the comments on social housing are obviously, an important one. I mean, do you think the government need to do more on social housing?
Oh no, oh absolutely. I mean, we've been waiting for it for a long time. I mean, how social housing has to be built. No doubt about it. I mean, people's Conservative not do much about it. And yeah, obviously Labour's big bill to do this is hopefully going to include social housing as well. So I trust the Labour government; they're going to do this.
Well, that's interesting, and I think the new album certainly will have a huge impact. When it released in August, there's also some TS5 promos I think he's going to be doing as well. So there's going to be a lot of a lot of new changes coming in the coming months. With things. So it'll be interesting to see how that gets on. But like I said, Commitment drops on Friday, August the 9th. I'm very excited for this album. I'm a huge fan of Craig's music. And, I grew up when I was a kid listening to Rewind, and I discovered Craig when he dropped Following My Intuition back in 2016. I was actually in a taxi on the way to school, and Ain't Giving Up with Sigala actually dropped. I remember it was on Heart Radio Breakfast. Like, I don't know, it was like Martin and Sue hosting it, and it came on. I was like, God, Ibiza rocks it, man. This summer vibe really comes in. But yeah, anyway, the new album drops September. I can't wait for it. And obviously, as I said, you can, if you go and follow Craig on social media. Honestly, we can find out more about his concert dates as well. All the UK shows coming up. Garage Nation was on the other night as well. At the O2. Features so many garage artists like Daniel Bedingfield, Sweet Female Attitude, Majestic was there. So many artists. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And I thought today, whilst we're here, we're going to play the new single, the mix of garage flex and new modern soul. Come in with Wake Up. We'll see you in a couple of minutes' time. This is Wake Up by Craig David from his new album Commitment, dropping in August.
cool like so bad. But deep down, you know, just own that. You got feelings like I was a throwback. Rope on a rhythm, no. I know you were never phone, gotta let it go. I told you a million times when you got involved that I ain't really trying to be like them other bros. Nah, I'm already stepping up on a big man for them when you're running out of luck. And if we're being honest, girl, that's where you're getting stuck. So before you fall asleep, you better wake up. So are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? You better wake up. You better wake up. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? You better wake up. You better wake up. You better wake. You better wake up. You better wake. You better wake up. Baby, don't go to sleep. You better wake up. Better make me out. You better wake up. Up to the bed. You're turning your back. You better wake up and think you better. You better wake up.
There we go. Summer vibes already coming in with that one. Wake Up by Craig David. Zach, what did you make to that one? It feel like some throwback vibes there from the old garage days.
Definitely did. I like it. I think it's a decent song overall, and yeah, I like it.
I like that song. It's a class. It feels like the throwback to the days of Rewind. Honestly, that song. It's going to go off definitely. Hopefully, if it gets on the TS5 set list this year, it'd be great. Definitely. So yeah, Wake Up, the new song with Craig David, and the new album dropping in August. But Conversation Street tonight now is an important one. Now, last week I spoke about tea versus coffee. I thought hot drinks certainly are interesting. This week, I'm going to be talking again, kind of on a similar vibe. I'm going to be talking about independent retailers now. Independent retailers that sell... it's going to kind of be like Greggs and, other independent businesses, because a lot of people have been asking, okay, with the cost of living affecting many people, some people have said, can you get products, particularly like hot drinks, in different venues for cheaper than the price? Now, I just want to quickly compare some things whilst I'm here. Now, I'm going to go by the average cost of Costa Coffee's most popular drinks. Now, I think, it's kind of an interesting development. I would like to discuss this with other places because, Costa Coffee is one of the most expensive places to get coffee from. And, lots of people go to Costa, okay, and buy any hot drink they want, or a tea or a Diet Coke or whatever. And obviously, there's one opening in Basildon very soon that's going to have a drive-through. And they're popping up everywhere now, definitely not retail parks. But the question I have for you tonight is, should you go to one of these big coffee chains, one of the most popular chains in the country and have a hot drink? Or should you just, go to like a supermarket or a local retailer and go for cheaper the price? Because I feel like there's a money-saving effect, whether the price of, say, a Costa Coffee is more... And in fact, I'm actually going to go through now the prices because they're very interesting on here. So let me show you. So, according to this, a more detailed look at the expensive is likely for Americano to the espresso, it's £3.80 to £4.40. So here we go. The regular coffees include espresso, a short, intense coffee priced at an undisclosed amount. According to this, Americano espresso with hot water is priced at an average of £3.80. Latte is with sweet espresso with skimmed milk at £4.40. Cappuccino espresso frothy milk also £4.40. Flat white with textured milk priced at £4.35. Flat black espresso over water priced at £4.35. That's one thing. And also the ones I paid for, one I had, it was a salted caramel. Salted caramel frappuccino was like £4.80. One of the ones I was in the other day. That's expensive, And I had a vanilla ice latte, it was like £4 the other week. And I went to Tesco and it was like £3.80. I have been doing this thing where I've been trying to find different what's got the best like latte or what's got the best cappuccino. It's very interesting to find price comparisons when you go there. So that's Costa for you. If I was to compare it to like local retailer, like local coffee shops, in terms of prices, you know, there is a huge difference. And according to this, okay, local coffee shops can offer more competitive pricing like larger chains like Costa, particularly considering the overall cost of a coffee as well, whether it's, you know, higher prices, the focus on quality. And according to this, there has been a debate going around different chains and independent retailers finding out what the cheapest type of hot chocolate would be. Greg's came in, according to this poll, at £2.25, £2.22. Cafe Nero was £3.85. Pret a Manger was £3.88. Costa was £4.5. Starbucks was £4.28. That's for the price of a hot chocolate. And, you know, local retailers, and I think McDonald's is like, for a nice latte, it's like less than £2. You know, I mean, Zach, I'm going to ask you this question here. You know, I mean, Costa Coffee and Starbucks are like the most popular coffee places to go in the UK, you know, to get hot tea. Do you think, and also the local other retailers often charge cheaper for their products? If you were, and sometimes the reviews have been mixed. Some people prefer them, some people prefer the more prestigious brands. Do you think, for the consumer research, do you think there's clearly a balance between saving money or trying to spend more and help the economy out, I suppose?
Well, I don't think people are there to think about the economy when they're buying their coffees. But I'll tell you something. Yeah, I think once you tend to go for coffee there, I don't think people really think about the pricing when they go to these coffee shops. I think about getting the best quality coffee. When you look at the poll results, I'm not surprised the likes of Greg's and Costa are the top two. I think they're right. The reader vote's pretty right to me. I haven't been Costa for a while, but they do really lovely ones. Greg's was I never got coffee from Greg's personally, but like for the consumer side, it was the studio. The one Cafe Nero is third, interesting enough as well. I've been to Cafe Nero once, and yeah, they were coffee was delicious, absolutely delicious. Yeah, and I remember it was back in it was 2008. Yeah, it was 2018 actually. I got went there. It was yeah, it was yeah. And I think it was at Ashford. I think we went to one of the big superstores there. And I managed to get myself a coffee and a bit of cake, and it's delicious. Really was delicious. So it's obviously not as, let's just say, available as, let's say, Starbucks, for example. But I'm surprised Starbucks is fourth, interesting enough. That's surprising. I don't mind Starbucks, but clearly people seem to differ, and others seem to be on the same one as well. So yeah, I'm surprised about that.
It's an interesting poll because, you know, and it comes down to just obviously as well hot chocolate as well, I suppose, because, you know, I mean, Zach, kind of as I watched the program on telly about, you know, how Costa make all their money through consumer sales and, you know, the quality of their coffee. At the end of the day, some people may have a different opinion. They might, instead of wanting to go to a nationalized like coffee chain, they might actually want to go and spend it at somewhere local that has locally sourced ingredients. Because when you think about it, some local chains, even some like McDonald's, even sell them, you know, and even local shops, like, you know, some local high streets will have a coffee shop that is run by independent like traders, and that can be kind of, they kind of have a difference between the normal brands. They kind of have to source the ingredients themselves, but in a way, it's kind of a unique experience if your business is locally sourced and independently ran.
True. And I actually, when you think about it, I suppose once you add that element, because obviously people will go onto the high street and look for whatever coffee they can find. They don't necessarily have to go to the big brands to get one, but sometimes they will do. If there's a Costa, I think people will recognise Costa quite easily. So if there's a Costa right up the street, I mean, they'll go to it rather than their local ones because it's a recognised brand for them, and they get they get the coffee from. But for those areas that don't have that such privilege, to be able to have those sort of coffee shops, then yeah, as well, I think actually local coffee shops is a good thing, and actually they produce just as good coffee, teas, whatever, hot drinks as well. So they're very worthable. I say they're a benefit to the high street.
And I remember as well, years ago, I ate in, it was a place called Poppins, I think, in Basildon. I ate in there once. I didn't have a coffee. I had like I think it was like a soft drink or a tea or something like that. And I remember like eating in a cafe, like these local cafe places, you know, that sell tea, coffee, hot chocolate, you know, or any other type of drink. And, you know, I ate in there and it was like cheaper than going to Costa. And I had like a cheese roll. Like, you know, this is the thing. Like, you go in there, you go to eat a little bit of a food, whether it's a lunch, you know. And like I said, this is the whole point of why I think locally sourced products, and, you know, people like Jeremy Clarkson, who is obviously doing his fourth series of Clarkson's Farm. I mean, Zach, you look at someone like Jeremy Clarkson, who, you know, is making beer at Digby Squat and cider, like, harvesting it all. And then I think even making like his own like locally sourced ingredients on his farm and selling them to the public. You know, for him, it's like a new business venture that can actually turn Hawkston into like a very, like the product he's created, obviously Hawkston Lager and stuff, but obviously, you know, like the brand in general, is really opening up to a lot more consumers that say, you know, I know it's very expensive, but he's kind of opening up to a new audience, I suppose, compared to these other companies.
Yeah, absolutely. As I mentioned as well, that anything localized or really startups or anything like that, I think provide big asset. And in terms of the cost, I mean, yeah, exactly. As you mentioned earlier as well, anything from a cheaper source is going to be good business for them, and it's going to reduce the cost so much for them as well. And it actually, in the end, they become a decent company because they get the sources, the beans, whatever, the milk for cheaper value, and at a more enhanced customer experience. So yeah, I mean, they're the important things about the local startups. But let's not completely dismiss the big brands as well, because that's where the most of the source of income comes from as well.
Yeah, and I think the debate comes down: should you go to the supermarket or should you go to a coffee, like a hot coffee shop or a hot drink shop and buy it from there? That's another question.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you go to your coffee shop generally as well. I think on the base as well, but I think it depends. I think most people would end up rather than just going straight to the supermarkets or whatever in that instance. So yeah.
There's a lot of research on it, and I think it's an interesting debate because, you know, when you look at Zach, the cost of living and how that is impacting a lot of people, particularly, you know, supermarkets having to raise prices on certain items like tomatoes and, you know, beans, pizza, meat. It can really affect, you know, people actually buying them. They're going to look for alternatives if places like the main supermarkets get more expensive.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, as I say, everything, you know, locally stuff as well. I think it's just the benefits of costs of running the business and all that sort of thing as well. And having that determines how they can, you know, in actually the quality of them. The quality matters really at the end of the day. I think if customers don't like where they eat or drink or something like that, they're not going to go to that place, and they're going to go out for something that's just as good but more valuable. And sometimes the benefits the main areas. Sometimes sometimes it just benefits other local businesses. Who knows? I mean, depends on your taste, really.
Yeah, well, that's the debate. Please comment down below, guys, what you think the best places to get hot drinks are in the UK. I'd love to hear what you think. Obviously, according to this poll, Costa wins out. But if you prefer going to a big brand, or you like your locally sourced ingredients at your local cafes and stuff, please let me know, because I think many people have different preferences, and everyone's entitled to choose where they want to go, whether it's in town, on the high street, or in the supermarket, or in general out in the open environment. So that's all I'm going to say as well. Anyway, that's coming towards the end of the Tonight Show podcast there tonight. And Zach, obviously Parliament back from recess next week. What is to be expected over the next week in Parliament? Obviously, they're only just coming back next week, but in terms of business in the Commons, it's certainly going to be an interesting start up after the recess closes next week, where there'll be some interesting legislation being debated.
I actually think coming the next week we're going to be talking about the debate on the Equality Act. I think when we talk about British Steel, where have they got the steel? Have they got managed to get the material ready to keep that plant Scunthorpe going as well? I think the UK economy, and I think gender rights are going to be in the headlines next week when they come back as well, and also international issues like Sudan, Israel, Ukraine are also going to be on the table as well.
Oh, by the way, last week I forgot to mention on the show, and I'm sure Zach you'll be able to address the listeners. I think Parliament was actually recalled last week for the debate on the issue.
They were, and it was to allow the government to control or take over parts of British Steel in Scunthorpe, because it was close to closing, and therefore would mean that the UK would be without sort of like an area without steel making it, and they would have to be imported from, like, let's say Japan or China, which wouldn't be great as well. And it was all down to neglection of the Chinese owners of British Steel. I mean, British Steel is owned by the Chinese, we believe it or not. But it's neglect by them that they've tried to sort of get the steel mine to be shut, basically, and get their imports directly from China rather than from the UK, which would be an absolute ridiculously terrible result for steel making UK, and that would have a bigger impact across other industries across the UK. So the government had enough. They kept negotiating, but it didn't work out. So they actually recalled Parliament to vote for the bill all in one day. By the way, the House of Commons and House of Lords all sat in one day, and they passed the bill allowing the government to take over elements of British Steel, and it's basically a part nationalisation of it. It's not really it's not quite a full nationalisation of it. I think the government does want some private company alongside them to put some investment into it, rather than the current Chinese owners, who seem to be very unreliable. But if necessary, it sounds like the government could nationalise it potentially if they cannot find a second owner of that in the future. But I'm glad British Steel has been saved, because that means otherwise thousands of jobs would go. It would mean an area would go into deprivation, and there'd be bad feeling as well. So really, really important stuff as well. And I'm glad, at least for now, British Steel appears to be saved.
And also next week as well, we'll be building up to the local elections on May the 1st as well. So we'll be announcing next week some of the candidates that will be standing for May the 1st. By the way, that is a Thursday. May the 1st is the local election day here in Great Britain. Obviously not the general election, the council election. So we will be keeping you updated with all the latest news in the build up to local election day on the 1st of May. But that is it for the Tonight Show podcast. Thank you so much for watching with me and Zach tonight. I hope you've had a great night and enjoyed the show on YouTube. We'll see you again next time for another edition of the show. Take care and good night.